Hello, and welcome to Replay Value. As is the norm for Naoko Yamada's works, I was blown away by the use of light while watching A Silent Voice. From the way it blended with characters to create dreamlike sequences and transitions, to the way it seamlessly connected locations and themes, there's just something about the way light is composed within her works. The film begins and ends with pinpoints of light, so maybe I'm not shocking anyone with that observation, but after that light reflection sequence in Liz and the Bluebird that perfectly captured the feeling of light on a closed eye and denoted distance, I've been keeping my eye on this element whenever I see Yamada's name pop up. And while I wouldn't say that the motif of fireworks is the apex or the embodiment of Yamada's work with light, I did find the fireworks scene to have a lot of the usages I mentioned at the top. But maybe what I found the most interesting about the motif of fireworks and its use in Shoko and Ishida's dramatic moment is how it almost imperceptibly absorbed new meaning in the theme of togetherness, even as it highlighted its thematic opposite in seclusion. The fireworks scene begins, fittingly, with Shoko's isolation on display. In the backdrop of crowds and festival noise, she stands alone, devoid of any sound. It is not matched by the physical location, she's at the fireworks with her family in Ishida, but it's an indication of her mental state compounded by her physical reality. She's alone in a world with no sound. But the fireworks themselves seem to be an equalizer, as she can feel the vibrations as represented in the ripples in her drink. And as we cut to other members of the cast, we can see many of them are isolated. Even that aspect of her mentality is not unique. And if anything, here watching the fireworks with Ishida, her sister, and her mother, she should be completely dissuaded from the notion that she is alone. Even as they chat about birthdays, Ishida uses the hand sign for together, just as the first firework in the next sequence launches, directly cutting from his hands and her smile to that explosion. But that togetherness is temporary, first with her mom and sister leaving to go get food, and then her leaving Ishida behind to head back to the apartment, building even more distance than the isolating shots of her and Ishida on the blanket, shown doubly so when the kid in the green shirt passes by the camera, showing that it's centered between the two as opposed to two POV shots, leaving an already small Shoko even further away from Ishida, a visual representation of her pulling away, and the crowd collapsing on her location, suggesting that Ishida cannot follow. After he's given an excuse, though, he silently heads to the apartment, leaving the bursting fireworks rumbling in the background. As the light from the fireworks light up the entryway, connecting this space with the fireworks outside and back at the festival, Ishida looks towards them to see Shoko ascending the balcony's wall. Her hearing aid left on the table, preventing her from hearing Ishida's voice or the doorbell, left alone with only the fireworks in front of her, unaware of the person desperately running towards her, who she's attempted to leave behind. There was another fireworks scene earlier in the film, so long ago by the time that Shoko disappears behind that curtain that it's almost like a flickering memory. And that moment begins, fittingly, with Ishida's isolation on display. Walking alone, flashing back to selling his things on a bridge looking towards the water below. This is the very beginning of the film, and as Ishida visualizes his own suicide set to a backdrop of bright orange lights, the thing that snaps him out of it is fireworks. Just small ones that some kids are playing with as he watches on from on top of the bridge. He is alone with those fireworks in this moment, unaware of the people who love him, who he is attempting to leave behind. Shoko and Ishida were the same. They felt alone. Shoko in a world without sound, Ishida desiring to drown out the voices of his classmates, thinking that they could make things better for the people they love by disappearing, not realizing, as made clear in Ishida's case, how much that hurt them. Fireworks, while seemingly being a celebration of some of the things that make life worth living, friends, and family, a depiction of togetherness for so many, also makes clear the isolation that those same people face sometimes. The sound of the fireworks may have brought Ishida back to reality for a moment, but it is instead what the fireworks represented that saved him. And so Shoko, who cannot hear the fireworks and has distanced herself not only from others, but from the fireworks themselves, to where she may no longer be able to feel their vibrations, is not given that opportunity. Instead, it is again what the fireworks represent, togetherness, that enables Ishida's hand, which had previously missed hers, and had been missed by hers in return, to grab hold of Shoko, and serve as the sound of the fireworks for her. The final instance of fireworks in the film comes as Ishida falls from the balcony, having lifted Shoko to safety. The jump that was previously delayed by the firework noise now having come to pass, as he falls, he cannot help but think of the people who he'd leave behind. His mom, his sister, Maria, Shoko, the people he clung on to, the people who served as his sound, and his other friends, the people who he pushed away due to his self-loathing. As he held Shoko, he resolved to do things properly, to change. His descent is marked by a cut to the roller coaster that he had ridden with Sahara and everyone else back at the amusement park, where even as she noted that she had changed, that too in its own way was scary even while it was inevitable. This fall, in a way, is his own plunging from the roller coaster. The fear involved with changing does not suddenly go away because one has simply resolved to do it. But in order to value those he pushed away, it is an inevitable one. His splashdown is marked by the final explosion from the festival. He is alone at the bottom of the river, illuminated by the sparkles from up above. And it is both an explosion of life, flickering away as he and the lights fade to black, and also a confirmation that he is not isolated, as that light gave an opportunity for him to be saved by those who could pull him out, people from his past who he had once jumped into rivers with before. Of course, the final firework is not the end of the film. A fall into water from great height is usually accompanied by a rebirth after all, but its core takeaway of togetherness follows to the ending notes of the work, as Ishida asks to go to the festival with his friends, again using the sign for together, and making good on his promise to open his eyes and ears to the world around him. I don't know if you'd consider confetti to be a fireworks cousin, but if you did, the intercutting of his tears of happiness, the images of his friends both present and past, and the sound of a heartbeat that resembles, maybe, just a little bit, like the explosion of a firework, that would be a more or less perfect ending. Motifs that are able to represent two sides of a theme are powerful in how they are fluidly able to empower the core takeaway of a work. The fireworks show off not only the importance of togetherness through its thematic meaning, but also highlight why feelings of loneliness are so powerful and ubiquitous despite our best efforts to downplay them. They are far from the core motif of the show. They only appear in 2 scenes after all. But in part because of their limited use, fireworks are able to speak so powerfully to the thematic ideas of this climactic scene and foreshadow the conclusions of the film, even as it is in turn set up for the final half hour of the story. But really, I just love how fireworks are used to further connect Ishida's consideration of suicide with Shoko's and provide a new context to explore the latter's sequence with. It's that kind of motific development where every scene has seemingly infinite connections to the others that really makes movies like A Silent Voice worth watching.